So welcome, and I'm really excited to have you here, and thank you for coming and doing this on an Easter Sunday. Just to let you all know, we're really bad in Club Soda about knowing when holidays are. So I hadn't actually realised until we'd already advertised it that I was making you work on an Easter Sunday.
I don't mind.
So thank you very much.
Oh, thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure.
Cool. And there'll be people watching now, but lots of people watch on catch up, and we pin it to the top of the group. So
brilliant.
So there'll be lots of people watching. So welcome, and
thank you.
It's great to have you here. We've had a good series of people on talking about exercise and other bits and pieces. You know, not all directly related to changing alcohol, but all in that same basket of feeling good and wellness. Yep. And you are like the nutrition piece to all of this.
Yeah.
And I'm really intrigued in your story, because actually your story is really important, because there are people who change their drinking habits for all sorts of reasons. And one is that we drink too much, which was my speciality. And for others, it might be around medication and mental health. And for you, it was around a particular health issue. And I wanted to tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I mean, I drank too much, so there was that. Anyway, but I did have a real slap in the face, as it goes, where my health just took a complete downturn. And I realized, before I had my diagnosis, I realized there was a lot of toxicity in my system. I realized that I was going about things in a very self-destructive kind of way. So after I had all these symptoms for about 6 months, I was finally diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. And that's an inflammatory condition, which then made me really realize there's so much inflammation going on in my body that I couldn't possibly sustain the kind of lifestyle I was leading, which was very party-tastic.
Yeah, but you say party, but also you were hitting the gym like crazy, right? So
I was.
You were that person I could never be, which was drinking and partying hard, and also being fitness hard. So tell me a little bit more about that.
It was a weird year in my life where I was combating all sorts of things. So everything kind of came in at the same time. I was drinking a lot, smoking, drinking a lot of coffee, and going to the gym a lot, because I also had things going on in my personal life that was stressing me out. So I was almost trying to combat that with the exercise, just to release emotional kind of stress. It wasn't so much for a fitness purpose. It was literally like I felt like I was releasing emotions when I was going to the gym.
But actually that can be destructive in itself, can't it?
And it really was so destructive, because, as I said, it was everything coming in at the same time. And I wasn't doing it supervised. I was just going at it in the gym without knowing what to eat, without really knowing what I was doing.
So is it those combination of things together that meant that you were diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, or was it there already and those things just aggravated and showed it up?
No, it wasn't.
I don't know much about rheumatoid arthritis.
It wasn't there already. So I've done some genetic testing afterwards, and yes, I do have the genes for it. But I think with genetics is it's like our gun is loaded with our genes, but our lifestyle is the trigger that pulls the trigger. So I was doing everything in my lifestyle, which meant that I developed this condition.
So you were full to the brim of high endorphins from exercise, alcohol, coffee, and probably some crappy food as well.
Yeah, it was. But from the exercise, there's a lot of stress. Exercise puts a lot of stress on our body. So there's that stress element from that, emotional stress, alcohol. It was everything. It was this combination of things that literally meant that my body just couldn't cope. My buffering systems were just overloaded, and it was like, stop. It was, so yeah, for me it was a real kind of wake up call.
I find that fascinating, because often what happens for those of us who drink too much, we're not feeling great, so we drink more to compensate for not feeling great, because we think it cheers us up, or even deals with our mood, which is a harder thing to look at and fix. And and without recognizing that actually we're adding more stress onto our body. We need to deal with the thing that's wrong.
That's right, absolutely. And I started drinking from quite a young age, 14, 15, as a lot of kids do. But I emigrated to England with my mum when I was 12 from Romania, and I just wanted to fit in. I wanted to fit in. I wanted to do what all the cool kids were doing. And so, you know, there's that pressure as well, I think, that we get suckered into when it comes to alcohol from a young age. So,
yeah, you migrated to a country with a fine drinking habits during teenage years. Well done. It was a great gift that we have given you.
That's right. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about your diagnosis and why you just didn't take some pills and spend lots of time lying on a sofa feeling sorry for yourself.
So I had my diagnosis, and I literally overnight just changed everything. As I said, I knew before my diagnosis I had 6 months leading up to it of just weird joint pains and feeling so tired that I couldn't move, and I knew there was stuff going on. But once I had the diagnosis, I changed everything overnight, my lifestyle completely. So I took out alcohol, caffeine, I stopped eating red meat, I took out refined sugar, you know, everything. I went on a kind of raw vegan diet for a while, which wasn't the best thing to do. But I was just reading so much information online, and it was really hard to really find my path. So this is why I went to study, really, is to get to learn what's going on inside my body fully.
But what I really appreciate from that, though, is clearly something had clicked in your brain, and a diagnosis from a doctor is a really good thing to get you mentally thinking, oh, something's got to change. It's a very good motivator. But what you did is you immerse yourself in the subject, and this is the same if you're changing your drinking. You need to understand what you're working with.
Yeah, I personally really wanted to understand what is going on in my body. Yeah, and with drinking as well, it's really good to understand what happens when you drink and what happens when you have a hangover and what is actually going on in your body chemically, because all these things change our chemical balance. So yeah, I really wanted to understand down to cellular level what is going on inside my body. So yeah, and also because I knew I had so much toxicity in my body, the thought of going on medication, which the medication is methotrexate, that is the standard medication for rheumatoid arthritis, for me it felt wrong at the time to put in something that's going to cause more toxicity in my body. So I chose the natural route for that reason as well.
I like the idea that you could feel the unhealthiness in your body.
I could feel it. I could so feel it. My symptoms, I could feel it. I could feel it for those 6 months leading up to my diagnosis, because I'd have drinks on the weekend, and then by Monday I couldn't move my wrist. It wasn't good. It wasn't good.
And with something, when you get a diagnosis like that, with something that is so debilitating, so, you know, those of us for which drink is generally a problem, the hangover is the debilitating thing. But you not only had a hangover, but you had joint pain.
Yeah, it was very
all
physical.
That sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Very physical. And so even once you started to cut out some of those things out your diet, it wouldn't have meant that miraculously your joints were better overnight, was it? So
no.
You were making a change while still in pain.
Yeah, I was.
And so you didn't want a quick fix? Why don't you just take the tablets?
Because I don't see it as a quick fix. I see it as you might have some relief now, but you'll pay for it later. Eventually, you have to deal with the underlying root cause of what's going on deeper down. And I think, you know, when we talk about alcohol, for sure, there's often things that are underlying that cause us to drink more. That, you know, yeah.
It's true. No, I used to always think, well, I don't need therapy to change my drinking because I've not had anything big or tragic happen in my life. But actually, it wasn't about one big tragic thing. It's a whole set of behaviours and feelings that underpin all of that. They're all small in on their own, but together they are along with the fact that alcohol's addictive, they are all part of the mix. And even 7 years on, I'm still dealing with all of that baggage underneath.
Yeah, we all have it. I mean, it's all the imprint that we have from childhood, from that 0 to 7, 0 to 14. It's all imprinted on us, and we react from that place of our conditioning in many ways.
It's true. So you did a lot of trial and error, because you talk about different diets that work. Tell me a little bit more about that, because you're in a mindset of wanting to change, and you're reading everything. Yeah. How do you even begin to untangle what to do next?
I did a lot of trial and error before I went to study, and once I went and actually started to understand what's going to be helping me really, truly, that's when I found what works for me, really. And it's what I've put in my cleanse program. It's what really, really, truly works. And that was mainly starting with the gut as the root cause of everything. Every disease seems to start with a gut imbalance. So I did a lot of work on my gut, a lot of work.
How do you do a lot of work on your gut, Daniela?
A lot of healing foods, so things like bone broths and turmeric and fish oils to soothe the lining of the gut, and then probiotics and fermented foods and everything that's soothing and healing and replacing and replenishing the gut.
It's interesting, because actually alcohol damages the lining of the stomach.
So much. So alcohol actually can cause leaky gut, and then that's when we have toxins that pass through the gut lining into our bloodstream and cause a whole cascade of events to happen.
All right, you've got my attention here. What is leaky gut?
So leaky gut is it's called intestinal permeability. So it's the tight junctions in our intestinal lining. They're very tightly packed together like that. And when substances like alcohol are consumed, they form gaps, leaks. Alcohol, various substances.
And so therefore what your stomach should contain and absorb and push through its system is then leaking into the rest of your body.
So whereas, nutrients should pass through the cells into our bloodstream, bigger undigested food particles and toxins can pass in between the tight junctions of our gut lining.
And what does that do to us? Surely it's all okay. Have I got like chips floating around my body?
So what that does is it triggers an immune response in our body. The immune system's like, oh, what's that floating around in my bloodstream? That shouldn't be there. So the immune system becomes highly alert. And so for me, yeah, definitely, I really feel that was a massive contributing factor.
And what are the symptoms of your immune system being alert to those foreign bodies in it? Is it just always fighting?
Yeah, it's always fighting. It's always hyper alert. So it can develop into autoimmune conditions, or you can just have weird symptoms like foggy brain, or just random weird pains and poor memory and all sorts. So many different symptoms can be caused by that.
It's interesting, because I know that sometimes when people have been through a medical detox, they will find that their immune system is very compromised, and that may also be part of that symptom of it takes you longer to get better from things, basically.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And I think we can all I mean, along with alcohol affecting your memory, the fact that all these other things could be going on, and it's one of the things I'm not sure about anyone else, but trying to combat our drinking by taking lots of milk thistle capsules and vitamin capsules was probably no good whatsoever, because we've damaged the lining of our stomach. It's trying to close the stable door after the horse has bolted.
Milk thistle will help with the liver to detoxify the alcohol, but it's not going to help with what the alcohol's doing to the gut lining. So it's not a solution really for what's really happening.
I love also the fact that you talk about healing through food, because I believe food is medicine. It's also poison in cases like alcohol, and also lots of refined foods. But food can also be your medicine, and we've been taught we've got strange relationships with food because of all sorts of diets that have been around. So when people are first changing their drinkings, they may not have a diagnosis like yours, but they're definitely looking to use diet to help them through their cravings, but also to feel better generally. Where could people start?
So as I said, start with the gut. Start with looking at healing the gut. I think that is definitely the best place to start. So nutrients like glutamine, which is found in cabbages, all cabbages, and bone broths, is amazing for soothing the gut lining, healing it. And then turmeric's also really good. So I have lots of turmeric lattes. And, you know, it's just having another drink as well with turmeric latte is just nice to have something to drink. And then it's looking at cleansing the body, giving it a chance to recuperate. So when we're throwing so many things at ourselves, some of them we don't have control over, like our environment, sometimes the food we eat, the water we drink. So there's things we can have control over, like trying to eat organically, so we're reducing the amount of pesticides and just giving our body a chance to get over the toxicity that's going on, if that makes sense.
And lots of fruit and vegetables. In fact, we all know the basis of eating healthily. You know, it's about less processed foods. It's about getting a nice balance, having lots of vegetables.
Yeah,
and actually, when you're changing your drinking, they will also help you with those cravings, because the healthier you eat, those oily fishes and all of those sorts of things will make a real difference.
And eating a rainbow variety of vegetables as well, because they all have different antioxidants in them. So eating different colors, all the different colors have all different antioxidants, and they'll help release the toxins from our system as well.
So to see food as something that can help you change your drinking habits by eating really well. One of the questions that's come up is leaky gut. Can that happen after you've given up drinking? What could cause it? Does it repair itself after you've given up? How do you know if you've got it? All of those sorts of things.
So with leaky gut, the gut lining is very quick to regenerate. It's very quick to heal itself. But what happens is when it's constantly exposed to things like alcohol, gluten, and even stress causes leaking. Caffeine, yeah. So it's all these things when we're constantly bombarding ourselves with these substances, that it just doesn't have a chance to heal itself. So yes, we can still have leaky gut if we don't drink alcohol, because stress is also a massive factor.
How do you diagnose it? Is it just not diagnosing, but doing some work on improving your gut?
It's not
flora
diagnosing.
And bacteria?
You will know that you're not experiencing symptoms, and including the nutrients I just mentioned will really help it heal itself, and avoiding the things that cause it to become leaky.
So for all of you that have upped your caffeine since giving up drinking, you might want to look at ways that you can reduce that, or switch to lower caffeinated products like tea. Obviously, I'm a big tea advocate. Yeah, there's different options there.
I drink tons of teas.
Yeah, so those are all those sorts of things. And tell me more about how, because it's often quite hard to keep to a diet. And it's really hard to keep to a diet when you're also changing something big like drinking. What do you find are good tricks for people really to keep on course with what could be quite a big regime, and the fact that they may fall off the wagon and eat a Twix? Not that I did that last week at all. It was a big Twix as well. It wasn't even a small one. It was a giant Twix.
I think the best thing is to not beat yourself up too much. You know, I think it can become too obsessive sometimes when we go on healthy eating plans, and it becomes a guilt thing, and then that's not helping with our state of mind. So yes, do a diet and really get into it and become passionate about food and really get excited about trying new things, and that's great. But then also sometimes just have something that you love and not feel bad about it. I think,
and actually, Yeah, it's a really important thing you say, because actually not drinking releases up quite a lot of time, and we often don't know what to do with that time. And one thing you can do is get really creative in the kitchen. You
Yeah,
can begin to learn
totally.
about new foods. Your taste buds are going to change
Yes.
within just a 6 weeks of not drinking. You know, find new pleasure in food, and make that the healthy food, and discover things that you always thought were maybe the weird hippie things that are in the health food shop are actually quite nice.
Yeah,
Those sort of things.
definitely. Our taste buds do take a while to readjust when we go from a standard kind of Western diet to a healthier diet. It takes a bit of time for our taste buds to readjust to those subtler flavors of actual whole foods. So it just, yeah, give it a chance and experiment with different flavors and different foods. It's yeah.
Yeah,
It,
it's really exciting, and that will distract you if you think about how much time many of us have put into thinking about when we're going to be drinking next, and what, and you know, all of that sort of stuff. The fact that you could tune your thoughts instead to what am I going to eat next, and how am I going to make it healthier, and how am I going to add a new ingredient that I've never tried before, and how would this next meal help me repair and get better? What's the right food that is the medicine for where I am at the minute? What are the foods that would dampen my cravings? You know, all that sort of stuff.
absolutely, yeah, absolutely. It's yeah.
Cool. I'm going to ask you a question. I know some of the answer, but Rachel asked about fermented foods. She's not
Yep.
keen on sauerkraut
Right.
and kimchi, but what else is out there? She asked about kombucha being sugary, and I could probably help answer that one as well. So is kombucha healthy or not?
So
So
during the fermentation process in kombucha, the sugar is used up by the bacteria. So
that's how your kombucha's made.
yeah, exactly. That's how it's made. So it's great. I mean, kombucha is a really good one. I love to have that in a champagne flute. To be honest,
Yeah.
it's my thing to have if I'm at a party. It's what I like to have.
And actually, the what people in who make kombucha say is the sugar's for the SCOBY, not for you. It's all gone by the time it gets to you. And Rachel, if you just look at the back of the label, you will see that there's hardly any sugar in it.
Totally.
The same with alcohol-free drinks like beer and de-alcoholized wines. The sugars in it are still low, and it's just slightly sweeter than the alcoholic product because there's more natural sugars in it. It's not that any sugar's been added in. So kombucha can be good for your gut. And I
Yeah,
guess it depends,
totally.
does it depend on how much live bacteria is in it? I guess the more the merrier.
The more the merrier, absolutely. And also miso paste is a really good one, which you can just make into a soup and use in sauces as well. So if you're not liking that sauerkraut fermented kind of flavor, I think with miso you can be onto a winner. But also if you're really not liking those fermented foods and you really want to do some work on your gut, just include a probiotic supplement, I would say, and do a course for a month and then take a break and do one maybe 3 months later again.
Yeah, absolutely. And then also there's also some water kiffers out there.
Yeah.
And things like that.
Water kefir is really great. It's so yummy. So it's just
so you don't even have to drink the slightly soury yogurty one because it's quite sour, isn't it? So
yeah, the water kefir is really, really tasty, and it's so easy to make as well. Just have it sitting on the side, it makes itself. Yeah.
Well, they say that about kombucha, but I tried making
Kombucha is
harder.
Kombucha is harder to ferment on your own. It can go moldy quite easily, I found anyway.
And very vinegary as well.
Yeah, and very vinegary. But with water kefir is much easier. I've had much more luck with making my own water kefir than kombucha.
Absolutely. And the other thing that happens when you're giving up drinking is that people may never have had a sweet tooth before. Like I never had desserts before, because why would you have a dessert when you can have another glass of wine? Quite frankly, I didn't see the point. And then when you give up drinking, your sweet tooth goes into overdrive. So how can people, I think we need to accept that happens a bit when you change your drinking, but how can people switch away from the Twix and the sugary things like it's 7 years for me. I don't even have that excuse, everybody. All right, you just need to know this, right? But how can you move from those sweet cravings and eating the wrong things to maybe finding something that's more satisfying but has got more nutritional value?
Yeah, so I make things with raw cacao and nuts and dates, make them into like little energy bars or energy balls. And I've made a tart today. So I've just had some people around for lunch for Easter. I made a tart with a base of nuts and dates and cacao, and then the filling was with coconut milk and dark chocolate. So it's very chocolatey, but really tasty and really healthy.
Yeah, I make my own hot chocolate using cacao and maca
Yeah,
and all of
that's
those
so
what I call
good.
middle class ingredients, as I like to call them. My cupboard's full of them. I look
Yeah.
like I've gone mad in a health food store.
Great. Brilliant.
So it is making a switch and being very conscious about your switch. And if you don't want to make those things for yourself, actually the products that you can buy in health food stores are really good.
Yeah, and
they're not full of nasties.
There's lots now. There's so much available to buy readily. You know, so we don't have to spend all our time in the kitchen making stuff. There is tons readily
And to be
available.
honest, Richard, who asked that question, I don't think he can make these things. So, you know, he might need to go and buy them. I'm not sure if he's talented enough. Let me just bait him right now. Cool. So actually, it's not about denying yourself. It's about switching and making choices, isn't it? So I had 2 dates today because I had a real sweet craving.
Yeah.
Then I did go out and have dinner and dessert. But, you know.
Yeah, I think, you know,
it's all balance.
It is all balance. It really does come back to balance. We need balance in our life, and yeah, and having the odd sweet thing, but that's on the healthy side. It's, you know, it's good. It's nice. And especially cacao is so good for us, for our moods, for our brain function, for our heart health, for so many things, full of antioxidants again. So raw cacao is great.
And I have to say, I went 6 months after giving up drinking. I then gave up the Red Bull. I know, don't judge me. But no, I'm judging. I'm judging me. My sugar cravings went mental, and my Red Bull usage went high. And then I went sugar and carb free for nearly a year. And actually that time was a brilliant time for experimenting with food, when I suddenly had all of this time on my hands from not drinking, and was beginning to feel more comfortable in my not drinking status. Then actually I went mad making desserts from all with those nuts and things. And
brilliant.
Definitely it's a great thing to throw yourself into.
And I think, you know, we don't stay the same forever. We change, and we're constantly changing, aren't we, as we move through life, and finding things that we like at the right time. You know, it's just how it goes.
It does. And and you will find other ways to, as you go through, your diet will change, get better.
Exactly. Yeah.
Boy, you've got the energy to make better decisions now. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. Without drinking, you just have so much more energy. Just waking up feeling great is amazing. And 6 years for me as well, since I've
cool.
Not had any alcoholic drink.
Look at all that you've done in your time. I mean, the diet advice aside, what you've done is researched all of your own stuff. You've gone and gotten re-educated yourself, and you've set up your own business. That in itself is just an amazing achievement, and that would not have been possible when you were in your coffee swilling drinking days.
No, going back to college and studying whilst doing all that would not have been it wouldn't have been possible. No.
So you must be feeling dead chuffed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. It's the silver lining, you know. I think when you have a diagnosis of something like a chronic disease, and you know, the doctor said to me that I'd be in a wheelchair within 5 years if I didn't go on medication. To actually be like, no, I can do this, and trust in yourself that you can do it is a great thing. We're much more powerful than we give ourselves credit for.
Absolutely, and it doesn't all have to happen at once. I mean, I'm not sure about you, but you know, being sober keeps on giving to me, and it sounds like you've taken step after step after step to get to where you are.
Yeah, lots of experimenting, lots of trial and error, and moving through it, and just being like, okay, that's not working, let's move on, let's try something else. And I think health is a very holistic thing. It's not just about the food, it's about your state of mind, and your emotional health, and your environment, and everything.
Yeah. And actually, if you think about how many years we wasted drinking and doing other stuff, I mean, there's a whole 5 years which I feel that I completely wasted. And I think now back to the last 5 years, and the difference is immense. So, you know, you have to remember this is a journey, and it doesn't all have to happen all at once.
Totally, totally, it is a journey. We're all on our own journeys, and yeah, it's good.
And we're here to support each other.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
that's exactly what I was going to say. We're all here to support each other, and you know, I'm still doing everything to look after my health, and I'm just shoulder to shoulder with others, helping them. You know, I don't think I'm perfect or anything like that. I'm just slightly further down the line, further down the journey, as far as
Um,
healthy eating.
so tell me about you do a 28-day program that's on your website, which I've linked in at the top. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about it?
Yeah, so the 28-day, it's called a mind and body reset, because as I just said, it's I really truly think that it is we're holistic beings. So we need to look at our mindset and our exposure to nature and everything that's going on in our life, as well as the food we're eating. So it's a 4-week plan, and we look at the gut health first of all. Then we look at balancing blood sugar levels and looking after our adrenal glands, which again, alcohol can really cause havoc on our adrenals. We then go on to look at skin health and the lymphatic system, and to help those organs out with detoxification. And whilst we're doing hormone balancing throughout, the last week is really focused on hormone balancing. So yeah, I take people through these 4 weeks with support on a Facebook group. Yeah.
No, it's great. And people can find that on your website
Yeah,
as well.
people can find it on my website, and the next group is starting on the 29th of April.
Cool.
So after the chocolate eating fun.
All right. So you did a part. So you had your healthy chocolate tart today.
I did.
What did you have any other chocolate?
No, I didn't have any other chocolate. Me and my husband have stopped buying Easter eggs for each other.
Well, I feel that the best day to buy Easter eggs is always tomorrow when they're in discount.
Probably,
Anyway.
No, so I just made the tart and made sure it was double chocolate. So it's chocolate on the bottom and chocolate in the top. It was really nice. It was really, really yummy. I can share the recipe with you guys if you like.
Oh, that would be awesome. You can put it in the comments at the bottom.
Yeah,
and
I'll
I will
do that.
share my hot chocolate recipe, which is actually from Neil's Yard.
Oh, yeah.
But I will share that with people as well. So it's amazing how the other thing as well, if you have less slowly cut back on the sugar, it means you can drink and eat more darker and bitter chocolates, which is actually, particularly if you're using your own cacao, it gives you a lot more flexibility, really.
Again, it's just retraining the taste buds,
Yeah.
because we're so used to high sugar, you know, and that combination of sugar and fat, and we're used to that. So it's retraining the taste buds to the darkest
And then if
stuff.
you also want to be very ethical, it means that you don't have chocolate that's got palm oil in, like all of dairy milk. And forests haven't been deforested in order for you to have some cheap chocolate, which is what I try and remind myself. But obviously, I still had that Twix last week, so I have not got a leg to stand on. But I'm working very hard on the taking palm oil out of my diet.
Yeah.
Rid of most of the bad food. It's very true.
Yeah. It's so good to start really reading labels and trying to be like, oh, what's that? Because often there's ingredients in there that, you know, you're not even sure what it is. So it's good practice to read all the labels on anything that's in a package, and then try to avoid them altogether. Really is the ideal. We can't always do it, but minimizing it.
No, but even 50% of the time, when you can know it, is far better than not trying at all.
Yeah, totally.
And that's the same with diet and everything. Sorry, Mel, I didn't mean to make you feel really bad.
No.
But it's helped, right? You're not going to go for dairy milk again, are you? The poor orangutans. Sorry, Mel. But you know, food is medicine, food is politics, food is health, food is, oh, there's so many things about food. But food is also friendship and company and nurturing and all those things. And it's about getting all of that balance right.
Yes, absolutely. Food is so much about coming together, and yeah, there are so many emotions attached to food as well. Food and drink, you know, we're talking about giving up alcohol. There's often emotion attached to.
Absolutely. And I eat Twixes when I feel in the mood that I used to when I would drink, when I'm feeling quite emotional and I want a quick, soothing comfort, and the sugar to hit the same part of my brain as alcohol did. So I absolutely see those patterns.
Yeah.
I also see, because I've been on quite a big diet the last year, that how ambivalence can kick in, which it does with alcohol as well. When I think I've got it all sorted, and then suddenly loads of chocolate falls in my mouth. I'm like, oh no, I thought I had got that.
Yeah, you become resistant at some point to things, don't you?
Yeah.
You develop this resistance, so it's just about moving through it. And I think, I don't know, as a society, we sometimes just expect that we should always feel happy, that happiness is what we should always feel. And actually, I think sitting with our emotions sometimes can also be really beneficial, and just taking stock of what's going on and moving through it that way as well.
And actually, we should feel just okay most of the time. And then sometimes we'll feel really happy, and sometimes we'll feel a bit sad. But okay is good, right?
Okay is good. Totally.
I know. And again, if we've been drinking since 14, then our emotional intelligence is going to take a while to catch up, because we've dealt with every emotion through alcohol since the age of 14.
Yeah.
So again, it's and we will see the same patterns with food as we do with alcohol.
Yeah.
And you know, it's an ongoing experience, and you'll never be perfect at the first time of trying anything.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel that's where I'm at the moment, is I'm catching up with myself with all of those unresolved emotions that I was drinking through from my teenage years, and that they all contribute to my health.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tell me, are you pain free now?
I'm really good. I'm really good. I have the occasional flare up, and it's mainly caused by stress. That's my biggest thing that flares me up, is stress, and sometimes that's unavoidable. It's just life happens and things happen.
You seem very chilled to me.
No, stress does happen, and I get the odd flare up, but I know how to, you know, I know what to do. I go and have a massage, or I go and have some acupuncture, and there's different things that I incorporate into my lifestyle, as well as the diet. I'm doing the Wim Hof breathing method and cold showers, and so yeah, it's ongoing. It's always ongoing.
That's brilliant. It's brilliant to hear, and it's really brilliant to talk to you today and recognise that there's so many different perspectives on this, and remember that food is a really important thing to us all, especially if we're changing our drinking.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
thank you so much for having me.
No problem at all.
Happy
and
Easter.
I'm sure yeah, you too. Well, happy half price Easter eggs tomorrow day. I might be going to some hotel chocolats.
Very nice. Very good.
Oh, no, Yusi's looking at me now going, you're not going to hotel chocolat, you're on a diet. Okay, all right. See you soon.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
Thank you, bye.